superstar traded. In fact, 3 of last year's all-star starters were centerpieces in big trades: Shaq, T-Mac, and KG. But the biggest difference, none of those guys had a no-trade clause in their deal. With more on the mood of the Lakers, here's Rick Bucher.
Stu, it's safe to say that the mood is restless. While in Chicago and Dallas they can say, hey, we're no longer interested, and that calms their locker rooms, that's not happening with the Lakers because they know the situation. They know Kobe wants out, and they know that the Lakers are listening and talking to try to make that happen. So it's a matter of when is it going to finally get done. In the meantime, they have this guy that doesn't want to be here, is playing hard, but is the centerpiece to their team, and you have an entire group behind him is sort of waiting for their opportunity to show that they can play, whether it's with Kobe or it's without him.
All right, Rick Bucher, we appreciate it. Rick Bucher working the late game, the 10:30 game between the Lakers and the Suns. You know, guys, we talk so much about the Spurs and their franchise. They've won 4 titles in the last 9 years, but they haven't repeated. The last team to repeat was Kobe and Shaq and the Lakers when they won 3 straight. But that was a 23-year-old Kobe Bryant. Bill, what should Kobe do right now?
Stewart, he should shut up and play ball and somehow find a way to bring this team together. There is a ton of talent on this Lakers squad, and what great players do, they figure out a way to make a team win. And right now, there are so many problems, so many anger management issues going on with this squad that it's just not happening. And Kobe is the one that has to take a deep breath and sit down and realize that he has made a monstrous mistake here and somehow figure out a way to make this all work.
First of all, I don't think he made a mistake by opening his mouth. I think he did the right thing because he was playing with garbage. Everybody knew it was garbage, and he told the world it was garbage. So I don't really have a problem with him with that. Now, at this juncture, you want him to be cool, make sure he doesn't say too much, but at the same time, he doesn't need to revert back to his old ways where he resembles a recluse and he doesn't speak up for himself. To be hiding behind his agent, letting other people do the talking for him, whether it's Rob Pelinka or whether it's Dr. Buss or anybody else giving their points of view. What he needs to do is say, I'm committed to being here, but you know I'm not happy with the situation. I've said what I said. I meant what I meant. Now let's play ball.
Yeah, but how do you make those comments when you're part of a team and you got guys on your team who respect you?
Because what he's saying is, guess what? We don't have all the pieces that we need to have. Now, he may have went overboard if you believe those reports where they said he was in a parking lot and he was dogging his teammates. That's another thing entirely. But if you don't have that, what he was saying when he came on my radio show and said, I want to be traded, he felt betrayed by the Lakers organization because he felt they were not committed to winning.
The nicest thing you can ever say about a basketball player is that he makes his teammates better. That has never been said about Kobe Bryant. But when you look at this situation, it is a complete polar opposite to what's happening in Boston with KG and Kobe in LA. Think of John Wooden's pyramid of success. The center block in the middle, the fulcrum, loyalty, defined as the human attribute and personal characteristic that allows people to do extraordinary things because they care. You know what? KG cares, Boston cares, Kobe Bryant does not.
KG was very, very quiet the last couple of years because he knew he was playing with some scrubs. That's all I'm going to say with that. I'm not going to even go any further than that. He's playing with scrubs that can demoralize.
And he never talked down to them.
He never said anything. That's true.
Both these guys know something about loyalty. Bill Walton played for John Wooden, 10 titles. Stephen A. Smith for Clarence Big House Gaines in Winston-Salem State, 828 career wins, most ever in Division II.
I didn't help him too much in that. Another story.
Shouldn't be hard for KG to improve the Celtics record. How bad was it in Boston? They won only 24 games last year. KG and his boys tip it off next on ESPN.
This is the big show. Steve Mason, John Ireland. When Kobe takes the floor, it's going to be pro-Kobe, the crowd.
Kobe is an industry.
This is a distraction all over town.
For over a decade, Kobe Bryant has been the Lakers' constant force.
The Lakers are champions again.
But over the past few months, Bryant has criticized the organization for not improving the team and asked to be traded. Now the Lakers admit their franchise player is on the block.
Nobody wins if you trade him.
It's just not even in the realm of my acceptance to even think that something like that will happen.
This is not how Jeanie Buss pictured starting the season. He has no say on personnel decisions. The potential Kobe trade is a worst-case scenario. Her role on the team is to oversee all business operations, marketing, broadcasting, ticket sales, promotions, all of which would be impacted as it goes.
In terms of the business side, we've got fans, we've got partners, we've got broadcasters. I just need to remind the baseball side of all the other people that are affected.
But Bus's concerns aren't limited to the business impact of the Bryant controversy. The 46-year-old is also caught in a delicate balance. On one side is the tandem of her father, Lakers owner Dr. Jerry Buss, and her brother Jimmy, who is vice president of player personnel. On the other side, her boyfriend, 62-year-old head coach Phil Jackson, who's been supportive of Bryant.
This is what happens when you date someone in your work. Mixing business and pleasure is not advised. And I'm probably the poster child for don't do it.
And yet, if there is one opinion that both Jerry Buss and Kobe Bryant share, it's that Jeanie Buss can handle it. When she was given control of the Lakers' business operations 8 years ago, Forbes estimated the team was worth $282 million. Today, the Lakers are estimated at twice that amount, although Dr. Buss believes the team's value has climbed even higher.
She is managing director of a billion-dollar enterprise. There's no question if you listed the most powerful women in the United States, she would be in that list.
She's had to kind of break through barriers, being Jerry Buss's daughter, being a woman in an industry that's normally been dominated by men. She seemed to overcome that. And, you can only do that if you really have skills and you're really knowledgeable about what you're doing.
Buss started learning the business at the age of 14, tagging along with her father to board meetings for the World Team Tennis League. By 19, she was general manager of the Los Angeles Strings. But when she asked her father for help with her first player draft, his answer surprised her.
He said, no. He said, I want you to have that opportunity to pick your own team. And if they're successful, it will be your success. And if they don't, then you're going to have to deal with that too.
Jeanie has a good eye for good athletes.
Tennis legend Billie Jean King played for Buss in L.A.
Because she's been watching sports all her life and also participating herself as a kid. So she really does understand the strengths and weaknesses and the personalities.
Buss led the Strings to 2 titles before moving on to run family-owned roller hockey and indoor soccer teams. Then, in 1995, she took over management of the Forum.
How hard was it to get the men around you to take you seriously in sports?
Repeatedly, I would have agents, managers who would call me and say, could you tell your dad this and could you tell your dad that, and then get back to me. And I said, well, I could talk to my dad and pass on your information. It's going to tell me to make the decision. So if you really want to waste your time and have to go through that route, I could do that, or you could take my decision right now.
But while Buss fought to be taken seriously, she also made controversial choices. Most notably, her 1995 decision to pose for Playboy.
To me, it's kind of funny. I still get letters from people who have read the magazine or asked for an autograph.
If you could go back and advise that younger Jeanie whether to do it or not, what would you tell her?
I have never regretted it at all, ever. It was just something that I had always wanted to do because growing up, my dad had owned the Playboy Club in Phoenix.
I wouldn't want my daughter posing for Playboy, to be honest with you. She grew up in a whole different level with a whole different type of family. Her aunt was a Playboy bunny. Her father was always at the mansion.
Also controversial was Buss's decision to date Jackson. It was definitely one she didn't expect.
Well, I feel like a very lucky man today.
She thought Jackson was the wrong guy when the Lakers hired him in 1999, even though he'd won 6 titles with the Chicago Bulls.
I couldn't understand it because here we had Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, who were 2 big personalities. Why bring in a third? Thankfully, they didn't listen to me.
How did things start to change once you met him?
The second I met him, I was just overwhelmed. His voice just blew me away. It still does.
Is there anything that she compromises by dating the coach of the team when people see her in that position?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, she knew that it was going to be difficult for her. I put her in a different spot with her dad, obviously. Puts her in a spot with people in the basketball part of the organization.
That's been evident as the Bryant situation has boiled. Bus's loyalties were first tested this summer when her brother Jimmy publicly criticized her boyfriend Jackson.
Which then makes me extremely sensitive to criticism of him because I know how hard he works.
She made headlines backing Jackson.
My brother had said some things about Phil that, I didn't really understand, because if he felt that way, then he should have come to Phil.
She just didn't think that was the right way to handle it, and went on the offensive on that thing, and she wanted everybody to be positive, and she felt like maybe Jim doesn't have the expertise, knowing how to navigate his way through these kind of waters.
I took the opportunity, which I regret. I shouldn't do that, but I knew I had to address it, and that's what I did.
Since then, Bus has been more mindful of building consensus, falling back on her traditional role in the organization, peacemaker, especially as the uncertainty around Bryant swirls.
There's got to be someone that can negotiate through some tough things, and there has to be someone that brings people together. She's good at that.
Whatever Dr. Bus and my brother decide in terms of the basketball, we sell whatever we're given. The Laker organization is bigger than any one player that will wear the jersey, and it's bigger than any one person that works for the team, that plays for the team, that owns the team. The legacy, the history speaks for itself, and it will continue.